All right, good morning. How we doing? How's it going? I feel like the top of my head's cut off here. What's going on? Camera's getting lower, isn't it? No, that's it. I must be getting taller. That's what it is. I'm getting taller. All right. Hi Enzo. Hi Galactic. How are we doing? Good to have you on here. It'd be interesting to see how many people turn up. So, looking sharp in the Nike. Yeah, I was wondering what to wear, and I thought, well, because really this is like our Monday session. It's like our Monday session, isn't it? But it's Tuesday because it was the bank holiday. And I know I've had a few of those over the last couple of months, but never mind. Hold on. But yeah, so I can't get my hair right. I don't care. It's a problem with headphones, isn't it? Anyway, here we are today, and it's our last week of Enviroment. So we're gonna have a look at the slides. Quickly go over those, and then I'm going to get back to my Ableton Live project because I did a few tweaks to it, which I can share with everybody. So that's like, yeah, loads of excitement there. And then also we've got a new camera angle. What do you think? Interesting. Obviously, this one. I can get it to do it. There we go. So this is the osmosis camera. So I've got it tracking. That's quite a good shot, isn't it? Get a guitar out, and play and what have you. So I don't know what you think of the LUT that I'm using on this, because so the LUT I'm using is Fujifilm LUT, because I couldn't like match this camera to basically these cameras. Couldn't be done. I'm interested to know why. I must have got taller. Anyway, so that's basically that. So yeah, it's not bad shot. It's 1 a.m. there, right? We'll have to crack on, won't we, Enzo, with all this. So Enzo, you're booked in for 5 p.m. This Sunday coming up. 5 p.m. I'll see you for half an hour about environment. That's exciting, isn't it? I feel like something's missing. Oh yeah, it is. See that? Amateur. Can't miss those lights out, can I? That's why that was looking. Right, it's a bit more blue now, isn't it? Honestly, constantly tit horsing on with cameras, right? That's all I did last night was like faff on with this setup. Honestly, yeah, just for what? For it to look the same. It's funny, isn't it? There's probably, well, I did get that camera in and I got a few other things set up behind the scenes that nobody notices, but like obviously I do. All right. The only thing is if the weather is okay, I may not be able to travel to help my elderly mother, but I can keep you posted. That's where I was last time. All right, fair enough. All right, Stelly's here. Hi, Stelly. Haven't seen you for a bit. Hello, everyone. Just, Stelly, I have to show you. What do you think? Fujifilm style camera up there. Actually, this is probably a really good camera to sort my hair out in. Because I get to see this angle. It could be the hair camera, that. Anyway, good morning. Right, let's just have a look at the slides that we had. So I think that's the first thing. I think we need to just quickly go through that, and just see what's what now. I've got a couple of there we go. Just move the chat. It's always a bit of an organization going on here. Play. What's that look like? And then can I go? Right. All right. I'll just move this across. That doesn't look too bad, does it? It's about as professional as it actually needs to be, I think. Again, I've just got taller last night, haven't I? I'll have to look at that camera. Maybe it's starting to. All right, great, Stelly. I'm glad you like it. So, because like with that camera, this one here, it tracks as well. But like with this camera, I just put a Fujifilm LUT on it. So if I like, that's an S-Log. If I gradually put the Fujifilm on, that's what you get. I don't just use. I quite like full, but yeah. Where was I? Presentation. Here we go. Right. So I think we'll just quickly blast through these, just to remind ourselves. And as we go through, I'm more than interested for anybody to let me know any questions that they've got. So this is a time, don't just listen to me, interrupt me, right? In the chat. Hi, Jimbo. Interrupt me in the chat and just, any questions, or particularly, what I want to hear is, I want to hear any challenges or problems you can share with us, with the group, because that's where we're going to learn. It's fine having the wins. Wins are great, and I do want to hear like all the positive things that you've been getting out of these sessions, because that's also important. But we do want to know about problems, and we do want to know about maybe how you've overcome those problems as well. But if you're stuck, that's also perfectly fine, because obviously suggestions can be made. All right. So optimizing your studio environment for creative focus, how to reduce distractions and minimize and maximize, not minimize, maximize. I've only just got up. Music making, right? Okay. That's that. All right. And then we've got why the environment matters in music creation. The modern studio, opportunities and overwhelm, and the overview of the physical, external, and internal environments. Obviously, I don't know how many people actually think of like all of these things as separate entities. As you know, I certainly do. Especially like in a game, out of game stuff. To me, that is the. In fact, I tell you what it's like. There's the French philosopher Henry Lefebvre, right? This is probably going far too nerdy, but when I did my masters at uni, I was quite interested in his notions, because that's what you say when it's academic, isn't it? I was interested in his ideas, okay, based on space. And actually, this is the thing that kind of got me in to get the scholarship in the first place. And he has like 3 areas. So there's like the perceived, conceived, and lived spaces. So there's these three environments that basically I was using found sound to explore. But the conceived space is obviously the place for thought and contemplation, and this is also, I consider, to be an environment of which we can improve. So that's worth bearing in mind, because obviously the music, where that's relevant, is the music industry complex is very much concerned on selling us tools which are to do with our physical environment, our external game. But actually the thing that we're going to get most gains with is actually the internal, which is a bit boring, because like you can't go out, you can't do retail therapy with it, you can't just, and I really want this plugin, shall I get it? And then the missus isn't looking, and then you buy it, and then you feel like, like excitement and then regret when it's like absolute shit and you didn't need it. So, at the end of the day, like plugin manufacturers, not Polychrome DSP, right? Because like 100%, right? I know Thomas is my mate. Their stuff is like absolutely legit, and it's there, made by a highly experienced player, kind of giving you a solution to overcome all of your guitar problems, right? And you're going to sound great. People just want to make money, don't they? And out of your vulnerability and wanting to be great, they'll sell you a plugin. And a lot of plugins, right, tend to be just rehashes of stuff that was before anyway. It's just whether they're better or worse, or does this click with you? Doesn't it click with you? So that's the external environment. And then, you've also got your guitars as well. Like, how many guitars do you need? How many, this isn't aimed at you, Enzo, how many modelers do you need on the floor of your studio? Is this stuff sort of like really kind of getting in the way of you just plugging into your interface and just playing some music, and then having the useful options available that won't be a time hog for you to then modify, edit, and mix whatever it is you've recorded. Because editing your guitar is still fine. It's just when you then start pretending it's like a real performance, but like just correcting things or creatively exploring ideas that are outside of physically playing is fine, to me anyway. Right, okay. Yeah, so I think, Enzo, that I can't really see this all the text. So that, we can talk about that on Sunday. We can talk about what could go, and then setting up an environment around there. But really, at the end of the day, the more distractions that you have and things, the more decisions you have to make, and the less likely you are to put some music down. Like, just that you see, I remember before I got coached, like the slightest little barrier or little hurdle that I have to do to get to the thing that I was supposed to be doing would be a cognitive load, and it would drain me, it would time me out. Because what we have to remember is when we're going to write music, it's all prefrontal cortex. It's the front of our brain, and the front of our brain isn't as developed as the rest of our brain, and it's power hungry. So because we start then doing all of this stuff that's like, we've got to solve all these solutions, and it's basically you've got to think and respond. It's like the fight or flight. just to get to the thing that you want to do creatively tires us out. So we want to keep as fresh as we can and save all of this energy for tasks, you know. So any task that's repetitive in the studio, you should look at some sort of system where it's like automatically taken care of. You know, this is why templates within reason are good. I mean, templates are brilliant. You know, you wouldn't necessarily, after every session, unplug every bit of gear in your studio and put it away, would you, to then plug it all back in? Well, the digital environment's the same. You're going to have all of your equipment there, everything set up and virtually plugged in, ready to go. But you need to be careful because you do need to leave enough room for experimentation to keep you interested. Because again, if that template becomes overclogged with stuff that you're not using, it's a cognitive load, and then that can lead to confusion. And nothing really happening. So internal, external, inner, outer game, very important. Physical side of things, again, you know, like things that just give us friction, things like your chair being slightly wobbly or your camera not being at the right height, because I'm just thinking about that all the time. No, I'm not. And then, you know, the story of me having my guitar over there when it's actually better over here, but I would quite happily struggle turning round, getting the guitar, plugging it on, bashing off the table, getting the lead from here, and then it was just utter nonsense, right? Till I just thought, oh, just bring the guitar, plug it in, you know. And this is somebody who's being coached, by the way, you know, by one of the top coaches, trained as well, and my guitar's over there. But you don't these things are quite elusive, and you don't really realise, because you just put up with these things, don't you? It's a bit like when you're playing guitar and your guitar needs a setup and you don't really necessarily know, just your guitar's feeling a little bit difficult to play, you know, and then you get it set up and you realise, wow, this is amazing. Keyboard slightly a foot too far away from me, so quite happily leaning over, pissing about doing that, or using my push controller with this hand twisting around with the guitar, you know, so everything got moved, you know. The push control is more to do with the live performance now, but moving the keyboard in, right? These are like so blatantly obvious things that basically weren't being addressed, but then were, and my life improved. So we just need to think about the environment, and the environment is important. The physical environment is just as important because it's all part of the fabric of it. And it also, like your door, like your instruments, like your thought and contemplation, your internal environment, are all things that need practicing like an instrument, you know. Right, how's this working? All right. Problem of clutter. Yeah, so just clutter leads, mess, shit everywhere. It's just crap. It's just like depressing, isn't it? Quality over quantity. This is the opposite of making lots of music, by the way. Okay, this is to do with, you know, you want the plugins, right? This is an interesting one because obviously, the more plugins you use, the less chance of mastering anything happens. Okay, it's like the bandwidth basically becomes too great, or your ability to specialize using something diminishes, okay, by whatever percent that plugin is. So if you have 10 plugins that you use to do the same job, right, and you have to learn 10 different things, okay, you're 10 times less likely going to master that one particular thing. Do bear that in mind. Because if I had to, like, after coaching like so many people, I would probably say that that's an accurate measurement. The knowing of these things and the execute and implement are a different story. Maybe charting out a plan for a day. And every week would be a good thing to implement. I think that's quite a good idea. I mean, you could start with a plan. What's interesting is, as you're thinking about this, do write ideas down and do make a plan of what you're going to do. The only problem with plans is that again, it's like a template. You want flexibility. If that plan doesn't work out, you need to know, how you're going to course correct and modify, and mainly not beat yourself up if it doesn't happen. Okay. So you just need to have a little bit of like wiggle room in any plan, but that is a good idea, having a plan and then just starting, like thinking like what, without spending any money, with all the stuff that you've got, right? How can you make the ideal setup that's going to work, okay? That's going to cut down the opportunities. The more it bogs down the computer too, yeah. So that's a good thing. So yeah, definitely making a plan. So, and then we've got ergonomics, comfort, efficiency, visual space, clean. It's all pretty obvious stuff, this, isn't it? Default setups for common tasks. I've kind of talked about that. So this is one thing in your template, right? Everything that apart from your initial Beats plus 4, every sort of modification that you're doing should be based on your sessions that you're doing. So, if you do, how we've got creativity modularized, right? So we have, that divergent, convergent thinking going on. What you're doing as you go along these processes is you're learning what the repetitive tasks are, and then a lot of those repetitive tasks can go into the front end of making music. So if it's a particular, like mixing thing, with it, providing you're not going to use, if you're gonna be performing a lot and recording a lot, you don't want to be using high latency plugins, right, in your session. That's why I have like the zero latency tolerance almost thing going on with my template, because I'm live all the time. I can't have anything with a lag on it. So, having said that, if you're a dance producer and you're not doing what I'm doing, then it's fine. But fundamentally, at each stage of this process through your creative journey, especially when you're getting to the more convergent side of things, otherwise, the yes/no answers, the mixing thing, is this too loud? Yes, turn it down, right? All of those sort of decisions can be, you can literally save that, and then that can become almost your template when you come to that end of that. So you've almost got a track that's pretty much ready to run with like filters and EQs on various instruments. And you can literally, when you've got a track that you like, you can kind of run that. But again, be careful, because what you don't want to do is then become over-reliant on your template, especially when you're wanting to diversify in styles. So there's a bit of a balancing act, which you just learn as well. But either way, by doing this, you would be in better shape than you were before if you weren't doing it. So that's why it's important to be finishing music, because the finishing is when we get the actual overall data that we can input back to the front end of the process. Now, just tell me if this is useful, right? I don't know if I hope you're not tuning out. You think he's said all of this? All right. Scheduling focused time. Well, we've talked about this in habits, haven't we? I'm hoping those of you who are keen music makers or keen anything, you are doing this, that you have some sort of habit built in. And when we talked about habits, it was you have the trigger, you have the action, and then you have the reward at the end, and you just run with that for 2 weeks. Don't beat yourself up if you miss one. You just got to find a different time. But you build a habit, like the habit of me. Again, I was building a habit of doing like 2 lives this week. It was starting to lock on. I'm like, whoa, like I need to do these. And that was great because it was massively helping my guitar practice by doing that. But the habit thing is important. So just remember, really, you need to be doing this action. You need to be doing the thing that you want to be doing at you want to attach it to something that you do every day. So I always get up in the morning for now anyway, and it's just automatic that I come into the studio and do something. So that's a good way of doing it. But that doesn't always work out for some people. Maybe there's a point, like in the evening, you know, if you've got kids or something, bedtime story, then studio time on headphones, so you don't wake anybody up. Maybe that's like a way that you do it. But also giving yourself a little reward at the end. So whether it's a tiny little sweet or a cup of hot chocolate, not so much a beer, because, you know, the healthy lifestyle. Non-alcoholic though, you could do that. Give yourself a reward. And these sessions don't have to be long. You know, your heavy lift session, I suggest having shorter, because you can measure, and at the same time, you can measure how much you're actually doing in that session. And because the more sessions you do and the more practice you get, you'll find that you can get more and more done in these sessions. So if you've only got half an hour, what you're aiming for by doing all of this optimization, by working on your internal thought and contemplation, getting into flow, that half an hour is going to be like 3 hours of work. Okay. And that is like 100% possible. That's what it's like with me. I can just do things very, very quickly because I've practiced. All right, everybody following. Recognizing mental clutter, building up a warm-up ritual, techniques, Pomodoro. Right, so I've got a Pomodoro timer built into my session. Funnily enough, I'll show you it. Templates, workflow checks, setting up gear for instant capture. So again, this is all of the things, you know, that I've talked about. You don't need more gear, you need more clarity. The best environment is the one that helps you decide quickly, and focus is a skill that you train. Less is more in the studio. Your environment should serve your creativity, and that's it. So that's our recap. So I don't know if anybody, whilst I'm having my coffee here and about to pour another one, so I don't know if anybody wants to just have a moment to have a think and maybe share some of your thoughts on your environment. Because obviously, like, it doesn't have to be look amazing. I mean, I make an effort here because other people are going to see, you know, see inside the studio, so I can't be completely. I mean, it's not perfect, is it? You know, there's wires and there's shit in the corners and where those guitars are. There's a plug socket. But I've got to draw the line, you know, at how much goes on. So just any thoughts, have a think, and then we can move on. Moving stuff can be a giant undertaking. It can be. But when you move it, what are the rewards going to be? Because that's the thing, I know it's hassle. I'm not saying if this is the case or if you're talking generally about other people. You know, it gets worse before it gets better, doesn't it? That's the thing. But the relief of having the clutter, cabling tidied up, everything where you know it is, will pay huge dividends, I can guarantee it. Jory69, how you doing? Any advice for recording in a room that is mostly concrete? Yeah, so you want to build some sort of diffusion filter around your mic, okay? So you can buy, and relatively cheap, a stand which has like a semi sort of circle curve that goes around the mic, and then that just absorbs some of the frequencies going into the mic. Don't record with your back too close to the wall, because that'll just make everything sound like totally bassy, and you'll get more reflections coming into the mic. So that's one thing you can do. Oh, it's great. First time. Yeah, do subscribe. So if there's anybody on here watching, lurking about, say hi in the chat. And, that's cool. And then Galactic's coming in there. A lot of foam might help as well. So bass traps in the corners of rooms, that'll help. That'll get rid of some of the lower frequencies. But then, you can get a load of mattresses and build them around the mic. Then, yeah, it looks like a really cool ghetto set up then. But diffusion filters will massively improve things without too much hassle. And then just dampening the sound, so furniture, carpets, sound good. You do want to leave some room ambience in there to help the vocals. Like sometimes people just absolutely kill all of the room ambience, and you just have a dead, lifeless vocal if you do that too much. Looking for the right spot for my amp so I can hear the high notes. Looking for the right spot for my amp so I can hear the high notes bouncing back into the amp. Yeah, I mean that's a cool thing, isn't it? It's like using it as a kind of putting your amp in a room and like a chamber reverb. So there's this. I worked a few times on a project with this guy. It's two brothers, and they're called Field Music. They're amazing. They're a local band, but I mean they've been nominated for Mercury prizes and everything. And they were in Sound on Sound, and I remember one of their articles. They had this building, this old, I think it was an old council building, and there was just really them in this big building, and they had below them were the toilet cubicles, and they actually used that toilet as a chamber reverb. So they'd set a speaker up in there and a microphone, and it was on a send and return. And what they actually worked out is that it had this beautiful tiled reverb, and they could use the toilet cubicle doors that could angle them in different ways, and that would act as like a diffusion, like as for diffusion. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? Very inventive guys. You should have a listen to their music. They're amazing. I mean, they're proper musicians. Proper artists. Evening, Mech. How are you doing? Mech, how's your studio environment? This is the last week of environment, and then we'll move on to something else, which is what have we done? We've done habits, environment. I suppose we've done a bit of focus. I will be wanting to recap on that though at some point. Hi, some guy. What's the other thing? Yeah, so actually while we're on about that, so next month, the beginning of next Monday, which we'll be back to because there isn't any more bank holidays, and if there's a bank holiday, I'll just do it, Right, so as you go, I like the way Mech's saying this. My studio is pretty much a launch pad. Ableton guitar interface, that is it. That's brilliant. Yeah, so anybody here who's on the Discord, please post up your studio pics. Some plugins, of course, like Serum and Phase Plant, yeah. All right, so next month we'll be doing probably my most favourite bit of this, which is decisions, all right? And we're going to have a look at specifically two areas, insight and analysis, and how you can use insight and analysis to give yourself leverage in the studio. So this is all the cognition stuff. This is all the thinking. What's really good about insight and analysis is you really can, like all of these things that you learn, you can apply this to anything that you do in life. You can apply this to your job. You can apply it to anything. And it will make a massive difference. Yeah, the Discord link is in, I don't know if somebody's got it. I don't know if Enzo or Galactic have got it. Oh, there we go. There it is. So insight and analysis, and we'll be looking at how in the creative process this can give you leverage, basically. So we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at all the good stuff, like I'll go into a lot deeper about divergent, convergent thinking as well. We'll be looking at flow, will be part of this. So really you're just building the conditions for success mentally in your studio. So there'll be all the good stuff in there. And I think this is the area, because it's great. It's like you're not always in your studio, you're somewhere else. And I think like this sort of insight and this ability to use insight and to trust insight and to have a really good, strong analytical skills, this is what makes you into one of these smart ass producers that just walk into a room when everybody's struggling and they just instantly waft about and like know the answers to everything, and it works, and everything like works brilliantly and sounds great. That's where you end up with this, you know. You've always got an answer. There's always a way forward. You always know what to do because you trust your insight. All right, so we've got a new view. This one. No, not Keynote's asking me to rate it. Not now. I'll just get my little monitor. So I'll just potter about my template here. So this is just like a little track that we started building, and then I just put in a few things that I know that I use all the time. So we'll just run it, and I'll recap over some of the main points of what's going on. So all we've got at the minute is this, right? Okay, so basically that's sort of what we ended up with. I'll just get the chat here as well. Hi Sean, how you doing? Mike is coming in twice, by the way. Is it? One, two. Right, Sean, I think... Oh, no, here it is, look. Is that it there? I'm assuming nobody else was getting that. But I think if I've fixed it, that's fixed it. Yeah, got it. I'll just check all of these. Yeah. It's because I had system audio on. I'll just check the other scenes. I wonder why it was on that one. Oh, that's the new view in Fuji retro. It's a bit of a 1970s look, if you're into that. Obviously, we can do shredding and get the camera tracking on. Walk about the studio. All right. Okay. So that's what we've got so far, and we'll just go over what I've added in. So I've been using. So this is all apart from my instruments, right? Everything else is like Ableton stock stuff, right? And the first thing that we have down at the bottom here is, as we go through this, we've got basically our drum bus now. So on the drum bus, I'm just using the Cytomic SSL style compressor, and those are the settings. Now, if I just solo the drums, literally. You can see the needle isn't moving very much, right? It's just basically gluing everything together. Fast release, very small amount of compression there. So it's just squishing everything together. One thing to watch out for, a top tip, is often you can hear there that actually that kick drum is probably too long. That at the end of the kick is taking up a huge amount of space in the track, and obviously that's going to fight with the bass, but that's quite long, isn't it? So it's quite good idea to just experiment with the length of that kick. Because what you can do is you can crank up the punch of it on here. Okay. But often, like sample kicks, when you're hearing them, there's like loads of like, oof, like just crap on the end, which you just don't need. See there, it's quite punchy. Top tip. I find often with the low end of things, like kicks, sometimes bass, I'm better off actually just using a shelving EQ and not using too many like high pass filters, because it does really like alias the kick after a while. So I find that I get a better, cleaner low end sound by doing that. So that's just another like little tip to do there. But in general, when I set up this EQ, this isn't necessarily specifically for this kick, but these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 EQ points that I would always use. Okay, and simply, you could probably just leave this set as it is, the high and the low bands, because I'm just removing a bit of the hissy top end to allow the hi-hats and other instruments to come through there. I'm just pushing a little bit of the click, so you can just move this, like number 5 here. This is just, your point where you're finding the click of the kick. This is just taking some of the kind of horrible, I mean, Nolly would describe it as like papery slap of the kick. So, and again, I just think of these as like a wet and dry filter on a kick, wet and dry. So I'm just either adding in or removing these particular characters that are in a kick. And I often find that actually just pulling down a few of the frequencies after you've done a boost gives it more of an analog style EQ sound, because often when you hear SSL and all these classic sort of consoles, you can they'll have a boost and a cut will sort of happen, and it's just like a natural thing that happens in the circuitry or whatever. So Max making a you can, if I can interject, when you shorten a kick or know its length, it will allow you to have a longer snare. Okay, you can have a longer everything, or vice versa. That's sort of like your bass as well. So like, obviously the kick and the bass are definitely in the same sort of like frequency range. If you're using really heavy snares, and then the low end of that snare is going to be in there as well. You can measure the length of a snare and hat. Sometimes you can get a nice pocket. You can do that. So what I would suggest, though, is that I think it's really good just to use your ears. All right, this is really important. So just to contrary what Mick's saying, which is good, that I used to do that. Like, I used to produce a lot of dance music, and I used to do a lot of measuring, right? Measuring releases on things and timings of side chains. Okay, and actually, what happened is your music can sound a bit lifeless and dull and crap, and basically it'll end up sounding, if you're not too careful, like AI's done it. So you don't want to be too perfect. We need to celebrate being human, and having these things slightly off, as long as the frequencies aren't clashing, add to the groove. So when you're doing these things, we're not just mathematically thinking of the space, but we're also thinking of the groove as well. So it's worth bearing that in mind as well. But sometimes you might want a long kick for a section shorter, and shorten it for another section to contrast with the snare. So there you go. There's another top tip there. Hi, Hippie. How are you doing? Good day. Long time no see. Since the clocks have changed, time difference means I'm still at work when the stream is on. All right. So I don't know what you like. I've been doing a lot of just getting on a guitar and absolutely tearing it up, Hippie. And I've just been doing them on this new camera, which is this, but not set up like that. So I've been doing like what I call quick, dirty live streams, and there'll be some more of those happening this week because I just love them. So it's none of this direct audio. It's just absolutely audio off the camera in the room. Make a mess. That's it. I always side change sub and bass, kick. Yeah. Because it's a great way before grabbing an EQ, really, that you can, I mean, so like this EQ here, it's like a tonal thing as well as creating space. But to create like real effective space between two instruments and side chaining. So, you know, you're pulling down the volume of one and then not on the other. So that's a cool thing. Right, let's get back. The other thing you'll notice in this template is that I've got all of my drums on separate channels, and it makes it super easy for arrangement. I can see everything here. If I want to remove something or edit, it's very easy to do because everything's like laid out, isn't it? It's like no problems there. All right, so another cool thing that gets overlooked. So if you've got Ableton 12, I think this is on it. You've got so this is my snare, a little bit of a boost just above where the fundamental of the kick is. So that if you can imagine here with my mouse, you're imagining where other instruments are. So the kick's here. I'm just cleaning out a little bit, not too aggressively with this. I think that's a 12 dB slope there on that low end, but the kick will be bouncing about here with its fundamental, and then we've got the snare here, and then just that cut there, and then just removing. That's like the boxiness. So just got a bit of that, and then we've just got a little bit of high end there, and then a little bit of a cut here just to allow cymbals and things to come through. But those are, you know, your main points for this, and that curve can just stay there. You know, you can switch it off for your next project or put it on. But what I did do is I did do a gated snare. So with this, I just thought this would be a good thing just to share. So that I've taken the gate pretty much off there. So you're hearing the full length of the snare. I'll switch it off. So that's no reverb, right? So on this convolution reverb, I've picked the, it's actually the first one. I think this is the McRocklin drum and chamber. And I had to do some EQing on it. Because although that sounds quite good, it needed some refinement. And then just to... And that's with the gate. Without with. So get a little bit more stereo spread there. So I'm going to leave that there. It's a thing set up which I can tweak, and again I can switch it off if I don't want it. But it's there. And if you look, like, you know, I'm using all these Ableton plugins and we're only running on 9%. Claps are just claps. So these are all just simplers, like little samplers that I've loaded in here. Oh, I've got these hi-hats here. Tell you what, I'll just, because I will probably want this. I'll stick this on, but I'll switch it off. There's the ride symbol, and it's the only thing it's got is its cut. Shimmer. That's a symbol thing, so. A different flavour of crash that I always use. It's always really nice to, anything where there's no drums and it's starting to like sound like a breakdown, then that's a good sort of option. Loops. Weird boxy. Sounds good. And then interest. So because this is based on loops, what I had to do is I had to think of, really you could bounce it out and then you could clean it up. But what I decided to use was just to really do some heavy EQing. So if I'll take these off, right? That's what this sounded like. So you can hear that's just taking over the whole frequency range, right? And I didn't want to hear all of that, so I just wanted really that, like a filtered thing. So there's a lot of like scratchiness and a lot of going on. So I used this LFO, and what that's doing is just chopping it up with this curve. You can see the curve here. It's chopping it up. And that's attached to the volume, so it'll work now. There you go. I'll switch that off. So that's a really handy tool just to clean little bits of fast 16th note percussion. And then the loop itself wasn't wide enough. So I just stuck some hass on. Good thing about that is, well, I'm on headphones, but you'll hear that there's a very strong phantom central stuff going on, so you can hear it very much in the middle. By doing this, it's shoving the sound to either side. I wouldn't do this on loads of sounds, by the way, because you'll end up with something that isn't mono compatible. But it's okay for the odd instrument. Having said that, there are other options here. So there's this great Max for Live plugin, which will do a similar thing. So there's an alternative to doing Hass, you could, we'll see how this performs. It's not bad, but I think we need that is more just, it's clearing out the sender. That has effect. Bass. So the one thing with bass is sometimes straight out the box, they can sound a little bit too clean. So we've got this color. Again, this is a Max for Live plugin that's free. And that's all it's doing. And these are as good as anything else. There's no particular drive on there. But we could give it a little bit. Why not? And then, so for me, there are some third-party plugins that are essential. And I think one of the best sidechaining tools, and it's not expensive, is the Waves Factory track spacer. It's like a multi super band sidechain. So, you know, you can see there what's punching through there is this kick. Now you can hear the bands between that kick and bass are great. I mean, if I was going in for a mix here, we could now be in a situation where we can have a bit more bass. You know, because that bass is a constant thing. It's filling up all of that low end frequency range. We need to hear the kick. We need to hear the low end of the kick. So we're getting that through there. So that's like one of the very few plugins I would use. Sunderland back in the PL, Tim. I bet you're happy, right? Is that football? I don't really follow football, but anything good that happens to Sunderland's good, isn't it? Yeah, that's exactly what EDM does. Lots of min-maxing of sound and frequencies. Hi Andy, how are you doing? And there's some guy. I said hello, didn't I? It sounds very wide. That's good. So, you know, I'm just vaguely getting it set up. You can adjust the wideness. So if we come back to interest here, and then we're just here, we can adjust how wide that is with the time down here on the right side. So not very wide. In fact, 11 sounds quite good. It's just pulling in a little bit, so it's just wrapping. It's not too distant from other instruments, but for now it's a template, so it's just a rough approximation. Yeah. All right. All right. Juno. What did I do with the Juno? I don't want that. So again, Juno pad. Often this is the case. So a couple of things I got on here. I'll just take them off and then we can go through them. This is a free plugin called Pitch Drift, and it's just detuning it. You can hear it going. So a little bit of wobble like that can really help separate instruments, and it sounds really cool as well. So Pitch Drift, that's Baby Audio. I'll just get it up again. Baby Audio, Pitch Drift. Just a slider and that's it. We've got the EQ here. So usually I'm pulling out a bit of mids there, and we've got the high band here. Again, I can switch these on and off, but the sort of these main points are there, and it's like something I always do, so that's there. So depending on what key you are, these cuts would probably happen in different places. And then just to give it an overall focus, the OTT preset's pretty good. That's without. So it just gives everything a little bit of a lift. And then to exaggerate the wideness, again, I wanted this just to push out outside of the other instruments. We use this free widening tool, which is amazing. Cool thing is you can check mono compatibility. To be fair, it's as good as any widening. There was sidechain compression here, but I've taken it off. So this is actually wired to, I do actually have a sidechain trigger over here. So sometimes it's good to make everything gel by giving everything a little bit of sidechain, but I've chosen not to do that as of yet, unless something really becomes a problem. Right, so new pit plugin alert. Right, now, again, this is free, right? This is all the good free stuff. Have you seen this? This is by a company called Mono. You can't really clearly see the name there. But they do a lot of sort of emulations of vintage gear. So this is like a Neve preamp. So it was free, very small amount of latency. If we look down at the bottom here, it's 0.091. So I had this little arpeggio thing going. And that's what that does. Gives things a bit of bite, doesn't it? So what's interesting about the echo reverb is sometimes, you know, I'll add reverb and echo, but sometimes just keeping the sound dry, putting your delay on there, and then adding reverb to just the delay gives you a much, much more cleaner effect. Very simple cut. And that's it. So mono. Now I've actually I hope they respond. I'll just check now. But I did send them a very quick message on Instagram saying I want to show everybody all of their plugins. Would they give me them? No message as of yet. But it was the holiday. So I mean, fair enough, if they don't message, I'll probably just buy them. But another thing, just from a workflow point of view, by using Ableton plugins, you get to see everything at the bottom. You don't have to, there's no additional kind of clicking on something and open it up. Everything's at hand. And then finally, I think there's some texture thing going on. So I just like to add loads of crap and shit into my tracks because it makes it sound cool. I mean, to be fair, that's still got like some dodgy low end on it, which I've now taken off of that EQ. But I'm just using this filter because I like the slopes on it. Having said that, on every track, I have these. I have volume. Just get these in order. Which just allows me to turn things up and down within the track without affecting the master volume. So that's really handy because you can do little automations. And then I've got a high pass and low pass filter. So I've got that set to a very particular curve. What actually happens there is, if you look at this, the plugin switches itself on, but as I progress this high pass filter, it starts adding a bump. So that's why it sounds nice. And I'm actually using a little bit of filter drive as well. So I'm using the MS. That's an MS2000 filter. That's an old Korg analog synth, but it just sounds the best to me on this. That's just the circuitry added to this filter. So you can get little bits and bobs of that analog modeling within this. And then we're finally getting to the end here. And all I've got on my master for now is this clipper, which I highly recommend. It's very cheap. Okay, it's I don't know, it's like $10 or something like that. But it allows you to hear the delta. So you can hear that. So if I pull it down, obviously I'm like pulling too many transients out there. But a little bit of just static going like that means I'm keeping the volume low. I can have an overall louder mix. So when this comes out to mastering, if you're lazy like me and just use AI, which is fine, like on Lander, just to get quick mastering going, then that's fine. A lot of the times I'll do my own mastering and it normally comes out a bit better sounding. But just for time and consistency, I do find like AI, providing your mix is good, sounds good. This is quite good. This is just rolling sampler. I don't see many people with this actually, but what we can do is it's just sitting there, right? And I can run a section of a song. And then I can just sample it. I can just drag it and then drag it out. And then it's there. Obviously the warp's on there for some reason. So that's very quick, easy if you want to quickly sample bits. But having said that, you don't necessarily have to have that. In fact, we can add this to the template. And then I call this record. And then there's no plugins on this. And then simply all we're doing is setting this to listen to everything, resample. So any track I want to record in, say, we want to do this. Right. If I wanted to record that in, then I can just hit record, and then it should do it. And that's recorded everything that hears, which means we can now take that and do further editing. So let's just we'll reverse the whole thing. So it's muted off, so you'd have to kind of create a channel. That sounds cool. Maybe an intro. Okay. Okay. And there's our record. Maybe have it like that. Or maybe Mixbus can be in the door. That's the thing, is like picking colours I really faff with. Right, that's better for me. Okay, it's 7:15. it's time for a coffee for a second. Right, we've done a bit of nerding out in the studio. I hope that's been alright for people. Yes, so can I make tracks like this in Reaper? You can make tracks like this in anything. This isn't specific to Ableton. You know, like I always say, it's a bit like, you know, when you go to a restaurant, all right, and then you eat some food. You never get the waiter and go, "Excuse me, just so I can have maximum enjoyment of my food, what oven was it cooked in?" It's the same to be said. It doesn't really matter, like, what DAW you use. Reaper would be fine, you know. Obviously, making tracks like this is, you know, I mean, what I'll do is and I'll probably do it as a live as well, just to kill two birds with one stone. I'll have to do a video of how to make a synthwave track, basically, because I think it'll do well, won't it? Like, there'll be loads of people wanting to watch that. So I'll just do the basic, like, this is how you can do it, you know, not how you have to do it. But I can certainly do that. The other thing that people may want to think about is that there are the coaching groups. So if you want to just make tons of music like this and find out how to do it, and I do suggest joining the coaching group. The way that works is we meet up. It's a group of 4 plus me, so there'll be 5 of us. We'll meet up for 2 hours a week, either. So it'll be Thursday evening at the minute. Is the group to join. So what we do is we'll meet up every Thursday, and then you have 2 hours with me in a room on Zoom every week. And it's very, very well priced. It only costs, right, for 2 hours a week coaching. So 4 weeks, that would be 8. If it's like 5 weeks, then, you know, there's 10 hours of time you would have coached per every month. It's $200. So you pay $200 and you're in that group, and I can guarantee that you will be, you know, as long as you do what I say to a degree, and you put in the work. Now you only need 45 minutes a day to do this. If you do that, you'll see massive benefits. You will be finishing music, and you will be prolific. It's a given. I've never ever had a disappointed customer. I've never had to refund anybody. So do send, Galactic's put it there, do send an email if you're interested in that. But to make sure you're a good fit, I do have to have a quick call with you on Zoom, just to make sure. So anybody who is interested in that and wants to be, you know, just write loads of... See, the thing is with music, right? I know there's AI and stuff like that, but it's still humans are in charge, right? So it's always worth your while doing. And the other thing is, if you have music, if you have original music, it lifts you. You become an artist, producer, artist, guitarist. And that lifts your profile quite a bit, and it brings opportunities. People take you a lot more seriously, you know, and things start to happen. That's for sure. Like, all the things that have happened for me are generated because I did original music. You know, it's like all the stuff I did with Two Dutch, all my dance tracks, getting my publisher because I was writing music, and I was writing lots of music and sending it out, and getting signed and releasing constantly. Same, you know, that then ended up me and Thomas getting together, even though we're being long-term friends. Then that came together, and then the synthwave thing happened, then Dragon Force, and then endorsement, and all these other things happen, and it all comes from writing original music. Right, so I've talked about this. Actually, I did a video, but it's so crap quality. I was in the car talking about it. I heard that AI is already taking a large amount of the music industry. Yeah. So it can't take the human spirit, all right? So, Jory, what you've got to remember is what's going to be left, and humans are always going to be the boss. And what we are going to celebrate is our imperfections, all right? So, creatively, if you're somebody who is a craftist, now what I mean by a craft is music like this, okay? I want to build a chair. What does a chair have, right? It has 4 legs, it has a seat, it has a back to it. You probably have some arms as well, okay? Right, if your music is like that, then basically AI can do it, right? And I think the other worrying thing about that, as we have the next generation of listeners, are they going to be bothered if a human person's done it or not? It's like watching a cartoon. Are you bothered that, like, you know, Pixar? Are you bothered? And they're not going to be that bothered, all right? But there'll still be people who, you know, providing education systems are supporting education in schools, because there's a huge, you know, benefits from that in terms of accelerating learning. There will be, you know, obviously people are still going to be interested in instruments and products, so there'll be that side of it as well. But if you're a craftist, then you're done. That's it. You're not like you're going to get replaced. One of my friends who was an audio engineer for the BBC, and he was doing National Geographic. He had contracts all over the place. He was really successful. He did like a whole thing on a documentary, you know, sound recorders on a nuclear submarine for 2 weeks. You know, like this one up in the Arctic recording the sound of a polar bear. You know, he did all that, and I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, "Tim, I've lost my job. Why? What's happening?" He's going, "Well, people don't want sound recorders that can just put any old shit lav mic on and then run it through AI, and it comes out sounding great, completely enhanced. They don't need me. They don't need somebody with a boom mic who knows how to not cast the shadow of the cameraman and all this and get the best sound. Not bothered." Which kind of very sad, isn't it? So yeah, if you're a craftist, it's gonna copy it. But what we have to do is we have to start picking instruments up and playing and start creating that human connection. I mean, that's why, like, because I've released a lot of music, right? I've done a lot of music, and my challenge is really this: being on here, communicating with you guys, reaching out, talking about music, giving away information, but also coming on here and improving as a guitarist. So playing and making that connection. Improvising is so like in the front of my mind at the minute, because it's that instant language between two human beings, isn't it? And AI can't do that. But going back to this generation of listeners that's probably not going to be that bothered, right, when they're listening to music, whether a human's made it or not. It's a bit like this, right? This is how I put it in this video that I did. I use software modelers. So effectively, right, when I'm looking at Thomas's plugin Nunchuck, which looks beautiful, essentially I'm plugging my guitar into a picture. It's not a real JCM, right? They're not real pedals. They're just pictures, aren't they? It's not the real thing. It's a picture, but it sounds amazing. Am I bothered? No, because it's convenient. I'm not bothered. Will I go back to a real amp? No. Am I bothered? No. So, you know, there's that side of it, and unfortunately, I think there'll be a listening generation that are like that. And they'll just put whatever on AI and think, "Ooh, what's a real instrument? Wow, what, people used to do that? God, wonder why." Right, you know, it'll be... But there'll always be instruments. So people will always want to play guitars. It's to me, the guitar and instrument playing, and it's like it's never been stronger ever. I mean, so there's a real buzz about it. So I don't think there's too much to worry about unless you're using AI to make all of your music and it sounds like AI, then you're wasting your time. Because that, like, what does that say about you? Like, nothing. That's what it says. All right, here we go. That said, AI music still has a ton of limits, and learning how to use it is not easy. It's beyond just prompting raw stuff. You see, I really don't get the prompting thing and struggling with that. Why not just make the music with your own hands? I'm not concerned about the AI takeover, though. You need to understand how sound works still, to a degree. But AI will sort that out for you as well. It's replacing your unique stuff. unique self. That's it. And you can't have, and having that, the most direct connection, using your hands, connecting the brain to the hand to the piece of equipment and doing something or hitting the note. That's what I'm talking about. Saying that AI is not easy is completely counter to all marketing from those same AI companies. There we go. Interesting debate, this, isn't it? This could make good television, as Trump would say. But, I like it, yeah. So, we're coming up to, so I normally finish, I clock off my shift here at 7:30. I'm going to go to the hospital, see the missus. Who's got my clock? If anybody's wondering where my clock is, I had to take it up to her because she's working from a hospital bed and she times all of her actions. Talk about being motivated. So she's like beasting herself doing Pomodoro, timing 25 minutes, relaxing 5, 25 minutes, hard work, relax for 5. That's what she's doing. Hey, anyone, can prompting AI music raw output through fidelity-wise is lacking? Could you imagine it, like live stream AI prompting? Could that be a thing? Maybe, I go, hi everybody, I haven't got any guitars anymore, but I'm just going to prompt the AI now, right? I'm like dark, moody, think man walking down the street on his own. He's just basically broke up with his partner. He's crying out of one eye, and then he gets attacked. I think it's in a minor key, but can it have a happy bit as well where maybe he falls in love with the nurse ambulance team member who comes to get him, and then could you like a few electronic instruments and then a guitar? We'll have a shred solo. Right, go enter. Right, I've got some lyrics. I fell over, banged my head, and then woke up and I'm in love. But can you make it rhyme for me? Like, yeah, that's it. Good. Okay, that's what I was thinking. And then taking reward for it. Like, you're a genius. It's just mental, isn't it? It's just like, I can't get on board with it. I'm sorry. There's the latest video, which is my process of doing stuff. More video. So there's my top secret noiseless legato video coming out at some point, which I haven't actually filmed, but I need to do that because I need to make more content. But actually, excitingly enough, I was looking at my watch time, which I check every 5 minutes during the day. That and my shorts, because like I'm like, oh, have I gone viral? Have I gone viral? It's like, this is every 10 minutes. Oh, have I gone viral? No, I haven't. Right, so I've got 3,627 hours. I need 4,000 hours, and then I can get money for adverts. I'll be rolling in it if that happens. I'll be rich beyond my wildest dreams, everybody. There's a guy who uses AI and turns Slipknot songs into classic 50s and 60s styles music. It's hilarious, and I like this use. That's good. I like that. That's funny. Hopefully we can get the neural link soon and access the entire brain, be space-age guitarists and music producers. I don't want them having access to my brain. I'm having a bad day and I'm plugged into the computer. What's it going to come out? I'll be like, stop. I want everybody to know that. I know you're joking, Enzo. I'm having fun with you. I'm smiling. All right. So, I think any final questions, everybody? It's been a great session. I think we've covered a lot of stuff. Next Monday we will be talking about habits, and then I think possibly this evening for half an hour ish, I might just go on the camera on the old gimbal there, tracking, and do some shredding. So it won't be the direct audio, it'll be just live, room mic, dirty, lo-fi, just, you know, guitar stuff, backing tracks, me practicing, which is great because today I'm back at work, so I'll be getting loads of opportunities to do micro practicing as well. So it'll be interesting to see how I perform tonight if I get on that camera. So it'll just pop off if it's happening, but then there'll be other little performances happening during the week. Wednesday evening is my direct audio stream on here in Vertical. Now I have shit the bed. Sorry. Right. Oh, I've got to wake my daughter up. Right. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Right. But Wednesday's the direct audio stream, and I will be getting Nunchuck out and making and showing everybody my lead sound and maybe how I made it. But that's also going to be a video. All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.